All right, I'm gonna put you guys onto some game. I'm gonna put you on to it's life advice more than trading advice, right? And you can implement a lot of life strategies, a lot of life tips into trading because this game that we play, no matter what you're trading, this trading game, whether it's stock, forex, options, whatever you want to trade, this game is 90, I believe, is 90% mental and 10% knowing what you're doing. But this is more so life advice that you can apply to any avenue of your life, and it correlates directly to trading. And that is most traders or most people who want to get into the trading game, they get into it for the money. I touched on the last video why you shouldn't get into it for the money, which will make you a better trader. But it has to be more so, okay, you have an obsession with it, you have a passion for it. So you study as much as you could study. You study the charts, you study patterns, you do all this market analysis. That's cool. But the thing, it's cool until a certain extent. It's cool until you get to a certain level. Because going back to what I said in the beginning, it is 90% actual mental, 90% mentality, 90% psychology, and then 10% is that studying, that portion of trading where you actually need to know what you're doing, whether it's your platform, whether it's certain strategies. Like my strategy, I use support. I pretty much trade reversals and breakouts. So I like to trade between support and resistance ranges, or when they break out the support and resistance. That's my personal strategy. That's the 10%. The 90%, right? This is something that's going to help the 90%, which is the majority of actually hopping on, the majority of where you're going to make your money. And that's outside of trading. Like, yeah, you can have your obsession with it, your passion, like you enjoy it, but don't get too caught up in just trying to learn as much as possible, because after a certain point, it's going to have negative effects. You need to have a hobby. You need to do something other than trading. You can't be solely focused day and night, live, breathe, sleep trading. You can't. Like, this is not something you can do because, one, there's a couple of reasons, but there's only so much you could study, right? When you're learning, like back, for example, when I started to learn about trading, I didn't really know much about it, like as anyone does. The charts on the screen look confusing, all the lines that you see. It's just like, what is this? What am I looking at right now? So back when my boy told me about, oh, hey, I'm making all this money, I'm making thousands of dollars doing all this stuff, and this was like 7, 8 years ago when I got into it. All right, if you're a beginner, you obviously have to learn certain you need to learn price action. You need to learn what drives demand, what drives certain prices to do certain things. And then, I mean, that's all technical analysis, but there's some fundamentals in there as well. You need to know why certain things are going up for no apparent reason, probably because there's some sort of news, some fundamental analysis backing why the stock is going up X amount, why the stock is going down X amount. That is cool, right? I was doing this, I was learning. So I had an internship. Let me go back to that. I had an internship where I was doing it was like a investment sales, but I literally, it was one of those internships where you didn't do shit. I literally was paper clipping shit and stapling stuff and putting them in binders. I was basically going through their archives, putting papers aside, doing all that nonsense. And I got to a certain point, I'm not going to lie, I was like a week in, I'm like, all right, I'm just wasting my life right now. What am I doing? Like, I'm not learning anything. I'm just putting shit in binders. So I took the initiative, right? I already had the trading, like, I already had in my mind, like, I want to trade. This is something I want to do long term. So in my mind, right, because like you can only paperclip and fucking bind shit for so long. So I would do that for like the first hour or two. I would do that. I'm like, all right, cool. Then the rest of the day, the rest of the 6 hours, I would go on Investopedia and like look up the breakdown of like what is RSI, what is MACD, what's support, what's resistance, what is this type of, what's a bull flag, what's a bear flag, what's a the triple top, what's a triple bottom, I would literally look up all the different patterns. I would look up all the different possible patterns there are, and there's literally a million, like ascending triangle, descending triangle, like literally everything, wedges, everything. And I took it a step further, trying to learn options a little bit, but that's a different story. I was learning all this information. I was learning the gist of like the actual trading. And this, back to what I said in the beginning, this is a 10%. I was spending so much time analyzing the charts, analyzing the data, which is good to do in the beginning. This is great. Like, I took the time, I had the passion, like I had the fortitude, like I was very excited to do this because I knew this would be my break from being managed, being micromanaged. I knew this would be my freedom, and this would be my escape from the rat race. Because I fucking hate when people like tell me I could take a shit at this time, I gotta clock in, I gotta clock out, I gotta do all this. So I'm learning the ins and outs of the 10% of the trading. But I was obsessing over it so much. And once I actually started trading, I was like, oh, this is formulated. This looks like a wedge right here. It has to be a wedge because based off what I was looking at before, it has to be a wedge. And I would think so deep into it. I would put so much effort into it. And something I've learned, you don't need to be a finance bro. You don't need to have a finance background. I have a finance background. I went to UConn, studied finance. But none of that really applies to how I trade. If you want to be a technical like day trader, swing trader, if you want to look at the charts. Fundamental analysis is different because you need to know the basis of the company you're studying. You need to know like different shit. You need to know the financials, their statements, all that. That's different. To be a technical analyst, to look at the charts, you don't need to have any of that. You don't need to have that finance background. All you need, I said this before, all you need is the discipline to follow a strategy and to stick with it. But going back, that's besides the point. The point of this video is to show you, right? I was doing all the analysis. I was doing all that, like trying to learn as much as possible of the actual trading. That's good in the beginning. But when I actually started the trading, I was like, I looked at the charts and I looked at what I was studying and the different patterns, and I was like, this got to follow verbatim, carbon copy to what I studied, right? Because this is setting up like this and this is setting up exactly like that. And then I would take like large position sizes because I see it's matching up to what I studied on my market analysis, on my like notes, where I literally had just pages on pages of just charts or patterns, right? I had every single possible pattern like out there on a notebook, and I would like draw them out, or I would print out the pages and then like notate them. And that did not make me a better trader at all. It actually made me worse. I was better off. I was better off when I didn't do all that studying. I was better off just going into it kind of with like a clear mind, because I was too focused, too analytical, right? And I was putting too much emphasis on the 10% of actually knowing what you're looking at. I was putting too much emphasis on the 10% and not enough emphasis on the 90%, which is the psychological, which is the actual, all right, how controlling your emotions, right? That's one of them. Just the psychology of why certain prices or why certain things rise, why certain things fall. And it just reduced my anxiety, my trading anxiety, because I didn't have, it was just like that paralysis almost, because sometimes certain patterns look like one thing, but then when you go to a bigger time frame, it looks like a completely different pattern. And then I'm just like, I have so much information based off what I studied. It it detracted me from like making a decision because I just had so much in front of me. And then I'd make a decision, then I would be late to the game, late to the party, right? And then I just end up losing money, and I would consistently lose money. So I'm kind of going off topic, but back to the point of you need a hobby. You need to stop obsessing over all the studying, all the market analysis. And you need to pick up a hobby. And I say this because you need to step away. I was getting burnt out simply by just not even trading itself, but simply by just trying to get as much knowledge as possible, because I thought that would make me a better trader. I thought that would make me profitable. I thought that would make me like invincible because I know every possible pattern there is. And it simply did the opposite for me. It didn't take me that next level. It's like one of those things when you do something too much, like it has, I don't know the term for it, but after a certain point, it has negative effects as opposed to having a positive effect. And it's like if you drink caffeine, for example, right? If you have a little bit of caffeine, that's cool. It has a positive effect. But once you go to like 3 cups, 4 cups, it starts to have adverse effects. It was the same thing. Like you need a little bit of data. You need a little bit of knowing what you're looking at the charts, but don't obsess over it. Get a hobby, learn to play, go outside. Like literally go run. I'm telling you, if you're not an athletic person, you're going to have to be an athletic person, or you're going to have to be someone that goes to the gym, because you need to get your minds off the charts for a little bit. And then you'll come back with a fresh mind. You'll come back with fresh eyes. Like, if for those of you who ever wrote like papers or like did assignments or anything, right? Yeah, probably 99% of you had some sort of assignment you ever had to do. You're typing, right? You'll be sitting on your screen typing a paper on like some nonsense, like some BS, like, all right, annotate this certain reading and then type a 5-page paper on it. After a certain while, you're staring at the notes, or you're staring at the things that you're typing. You need to step away, bro, because you're just like, there's just brain fog there. You need to step away, go do something. It applies to trading as well. Literally go outside, pick up a hobby, learn to play chess, stimulate your mind in a different way. And then once you come back with fresh eyes, it's like you're seeing something completely different on the charts. You're seeing something completely different, in this example, on the paper that you're typing. It's the same thing. You need breaks. This trading is not something like the harder you study, like the more profitable you're going to be. The trading is not, I thought it was, because a lot of things are like that. Like the more you know about something, the better you can be at the thing. But there's been times where I've studied like certain companies, like fundamentals, and everything looked good on the, like, say they had an earnings report, and everything looked good on the earnings report. Like I did my due diligence, and that's for some reason the stock just tanks. And I'm like, I would buy, right? I would go long, and then the stock just tanks, and I'm like, I did all this research for what? But our jobs as traders is not to, you don't need to over like study it. You just gotta kind of go with the flow, right? Like for me, when I get into trading, or like my trading day, right? I'm not staring at the screen before, like I don't need 3 hours, because market opens 9:30 here in New York. I'm not looking at the chart for like 3-4 hours prior to getting to the trade. At most, it'll be like 15-20 minutes. Like I'll get to the screen at 9, just see what pre-market is doing. I have like 2 tickers. I typically have QQQ, just an ETF that follows NASDAQ. Just give you a general analysis of what the market is looking like. And then I'll have NVIDIA. And then occasionally I'll have something else that I'll look at. But staring at the screen, trying to get as much information as possible, is not going to make you a better trader. What makes you a better trader is just all mental, bro. It is literally all mental, knowing when to cut your losses, knowing when to you're going to take profits, and then just sticking to that, being disciplined. But you need to come into it with fresh eyes, because there's also that aspect, right? You've ever heard of confirmation bias? When you're just staring at a screen for so long, you're finding every little thing. You're ignoring all the things that are going to go against your position. Say you're going to go long on NVIDIA. All right, you're going to go long. You see, all right, we're oversold, right? We're oversold by, like, look at RSI. We're very oversold. So it looks like we potentially can be reversing and can go to the upside, right? You're going to ignore the factors that go into play in the opposite direction. Like in our case, it would be bearish side. It would be the opposite direction. You're going to ignore that we've been in a downward pattern for X amount of weeks. You're going to ignore a break of support that we've been retesting for who knows how long. You're going to ignore the things that go against your position because you've been looking at the screen for so long and you've been overanalyzing it. Anything that confirms in your mind, even a little bit, is going to make it seem like, okay, like this has got to go long, because even this one little thing, right? Because I analyze every little thing about this stock. It's got to go my way because I've studied it for 3 hours, right? It's like when people go to the gym. They're there for 3 hours, but they, like, being in the gym for 3 hours doesn't mean you're efficient. Doesn't mean, like, I hate when people say, oh, I was in the gym all day, but what did you do? What did you do within that time? Like, just because you look at something for so long, just because you study so much, doesn't mean you're retaining anything. You need to take a step back, do something different, get a hobby, right? Get a hobby that even complements trading. It doesn't have to be something out of the blue. For example, I love playing chess. I just got into it like 2 years ago because I started boxing. And boxing is another one. Like, I love boxing, clears my mind completely. I don't think about trading. I don't think about none of that shit. And I can then come back to the trading with fresh eyes. But chess, bro, a lot of people are not going to want to box, but chess, it don't take much. You got your phone, right? You got an iPhone. You could buy a chessboard. Stimulate your mind. It's more of like with chess, right? I'm just going off on all these tangents, but the main message is stop looking at the screen so much. But with chess, back to chess, it teaches you patience. It teaches you strategy. It teaches you discipline. You can't just send all your pawns up front and then expect something to happen. You got to be strategic about how you're doing certain things. And the same thing applies to trading. You have to be very strategic and follow a plan. Like, you can't just press random things. You can't send random pieces on the chessboard and expect you to win. Like, there's so much. Just do something outside of trading. If you got anything from me ranting of what I did in my internship, how I just overanalyzed all this data, how I did all these things. It's cool. You need to know what you're looking at. You need to know the charts. You need to know certain patterns. You need to know certain things. But you could take a finance bro that knows everything about. So you could take investment banking bro that knows everything about that. And then you could take an arts guy, but the arts guy knows how to trade. The arts guy obviously is going to make more money than the investment banking bro, because he's just going to, you don't have to be the best analyst to know what you're doing when you're looking at the charts. You can come from any background. You can come from any field, but you need to have a hobby. You need to have some sort of thing that you got to do outside of trading, because then you can come back to it with fresh eyes. It's like if when you eat the same meal over and over and over and over, you get tired of it, and then you want to, right? You get tired of eating the same shit over and over and over and over. And sometimes you get tired of looking at the charts all day. So go do something different. Go do something outside of what you normally do. And then you're going to come back to the charts like refreshed. You're gonna come back with more energy because I'm assuming you're passionate about trading. So you're gonna come back to it like my baby. Like your baby's always gonna be there. So take a break. Like literally take a break. Come back. Like all the analysis, data analysts, or I could keep saying analysts instead of analysis, but all that is cool to a certain extent. So I'll leave you with that. I think I rambled for long enough, but yeah, there's some. Today is what's today? Today is April 2nd, the day of liberation, or Liberation Day, as Big T people want to call them. So I'm gonna get in tune with that because all this tariff news definitely has some play to the market. Into the market just got out of work, but stay tuned. Going forward, growing my account from 300 to 1,000. We are currently at 640, so we are more than doubled for those of you who've been staying along the journey. So once I get to 1,000, I'm gonna transfer over 2,000 into the account, so it's 3,000, and then we're gonna go from 3,000 to 10,000. And I just want to show that you can do the same things over and over again. I'm just scaling up. And I just want to show that it's possible with a plan, with a strategy, with patience. Because I'm not doing this overnight. But since I've been doing this challenge, I've only had 2 or 3 red days. And I've kept my red days so minuscule. So I just want to show with consistency, with patience, with a plan, anyone could do this, bro. Like anyone could literally do this. So stay tuned. More to come. And if I provided any value, stay tuned for the journey. But peace out.